How to manage and have a successful marriage life. A brother proposes to a sister for marriage. Weeks later the sister decided to pay the brother a sudden night visit. The brother was spiritual sensitive and decides to vacate the room for the sister. He went and slept in one of his neighbor apartment. However, after their elaborate wedding ceremony, during one of those Tom and Jerry night love games, the brother was dumbfounded and perplexed in spirit. He said, "The breast of my newly wedded wife looks like that of my mother's." Unfortunately, he dissolved the marriage and decided to remain unmarried till the end of his life, even at the expense of the pastor's pleas with relatives, yet he refused to hearken. But instead, he said, "I did rather die than to soul tie myself with any woman. The last time I checked, I confirm from a pastor that the brother has injected himself with sterilized pills which has destroyed his sperm cells. As a result of this severe heartbroken, if he mistakenly beholds you chatting with any sister, honestly, he will tag you as an enemy." He hated women to the core. He once said, "The only thing that soul ties me with my mother is just because she is my mother, or else I will disperse her." Dictionary define manage as to bring about or succeed in accomplishing, sometimes despite difficulty or hardship. It also means, to be in charge of. To succeed in surviving or in attaining one's aims, especially against heavy odds, or cope. Marriage question. How can you cope, accomplished, and succeed successful in your marriage without overcoming internal oppositions, conflicts or disputes from either in-laws or spouse, without management? How can you take charge of or stand firm in your marriage against any external intruder or heavy odds that might tend to defile your matrimonial bed without management? Marriage is a manage. Dictionary defines marriage as a union of a couple, husband or wife, while the scripture define marriage as a free will union been upheld and united together by Christ's love until death. Marriage isn't broken, is sweet, precious and undefined. Marriage is a mass with happiness, joy, sadness, sickness, riches, honor, poverty, regret, sorrow, quarrel, pains, bitterness, favor, blessing and finally swallow up by death. Marriage can be successful built in peace and love, yet there is no successful marriage without conflicts because marriage is managed. The spicy climax peak about marriage which seems to electric shock my jaw is how can two strange individuals with various different background, caliber, trait, and character able to live together for decades of years, in endurance, forgiveness, tolerance, and acceptance? The scripture also patterns same question, can two walk together expect they agree? Amos 3:3. No, they can't, unless they learned how to tolerate, endure, and continue to manage and overlooks each other's faults. Many marriages are experiencing turbulence, winds of chaos, because it refuses to manage and accept each other's faults. Today, there is a mighty rush for marriage among the youths and singles. They are rushing into marriage voyage, praying and wishing to sink deeper into the deep blue sea of marriage romance without patiently seeking for God's divine grace. They carelessly refuse to plead for the grace that will empower them to overcome, endure, tolerate, and manage whatever ugly sides or unfortunate characters that might erupt from the lives of their spouse or might cause them to regret. A fighting marriage years ago, while sharing my view about the pathetic character of women with an elderly man, he looked at me and said, "My son, no woman is perfect, likewise also, no man is perfect. No woman can ever satisfy your attributed desire, some are fair, while some are worst, but none of them is perfect." He continues, "Women are like a gift, wrapped in a box. Her outward appearances are wrapped gorgeously and very attractive, while her secrecy and inward attitude is secretly hidden inside the box. My son, after marriage you will begin to unwrap her, and whatever you behold is what you accept, because she is a woman. Honestly, the scaring thing that ever scared and blow off the mind of serious godly Christian is the thought of marriage. The thought of marriage can send cold feverish and cause you heart to pump as someone who thinked about hell. However, some Christian might sense it so joyfully, at last they are finally getting married. Hence, the marriage which you don't prepare for will certainly consume you whenever you got entangled. The negative or positive sound cry of your marriage shall determine the end result of your heavenly race. Peradventure, you eventually marry a road church pretender brother as a husband. My dear sister, if you are not spiritual enlightened in prayers, you might end up in hell, because such man might withstand and demote your spiritual life. Perhaps, you carelessly soul tie yourself with stop and fight or contentious woman as a wife. Honestly, be ready to become the next Apostle Pa Babalola of Christ Apostolic Church. He was a mighty man of God who married the head witches of Yoruba land in Nigeria, a demonic reincarnated wife from the pit of hell. Though his wife frustrated his ministry both physically and spiritually, yet, by grace of God he prevails. One of the days, he was expected to preach in an open-air crusade, but suddenly his wife locked him inside the room and ran off. The man just looked up and cried, "Oh Lord, see what my wife has done." The Lord asked him to lay his hands on the wall, and immediately he found himself in the crusade ground. He was the only man that traveled overseas for missionary works without airplane or ship. He usually floats on air while preaching. He can also pray for 3 months on knee without standing up. Are you ready to become the next Elijah? If not, please pray for the grace to manage and endure the faults and ugly sides of your present or future spouse.